Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Yeah, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. This is your AEW All In Wembley 2024 review. We've got ourselves a brand new AEW World Champion with Bryan Danielson, who defeated Swerve Strickland in a phenomenal main event. One slight bit of overbooking with Hangman Adam Page, distracting Swerve for what probably is the turning point of the finish there, when Danielson was able to hit Swerve with a psycho knee out of nowhere and then get the job done by tapping out Swerve Strickland, who's been champion for how many
5
months?
months.
5 months now. 5 months
March
now.
at Revolution. It's had it ever since.
Yeah.
So before we get to the match, you gotta say that Swerve had himself. I know it wasn't the longest reign of all the AEW champions, but considering the people that he feuded with, defeated, leading up to and after winning the title, it's been a pretty darn good world title run for Swerve Strickland. He signed a new deal with AEW in the 0 Hour Kickoff show, a new extension. So it seems like he's staying with AEW for years to come, and it seems he is a foundational piece of the company. And rightly so, because he's insanely talented in the ring, creatively, you name it, Swerve can do it. And, you know, before we start talking about Bryan Danielson as champion, what that means, hats off to Swerve Strickland for a hell of a title reign.
No, I agree. I think that, especially in this day and age when length of run seems to be a thing, not necessarily in AEW, but we're coming off of, you know, MJF, for example, had the longest run in AEW. And Samoa Joe, a bit of a transitional champion to a degree. Swerve is one of the foundational pieces of the company. Now that he's re-signed, he's going to continue to be a foundational piece of the company. And it does seem like his time as champion, I think it was effective in saying, okay, this is the direction we're headed in. And granted, I know Danielson won the title tonight and he's on his way out the door, basically, in terms of a full-time wrestler. This ain't going to be a long title run.
No, he'll have it probably till October at Wrestle Dream. He'll have probably his last match as a full-time wrestler. That will actually be his retirement match. Because I wonder if they're going to do the thing where he says, all right, I have the title now. When I lose this, I'm done.
Could be. Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case. The next guy to get it, you know, Dave Meltzer had mentioned there's a rumor, of course. Darby Allin, I think, has a shot at Grand Slam.
He's got a title opportunity at Grand Slam, but then Christian Cage, after winning the Casino Gauntlet match, we'll talk more about that later, also has himself a guaranteed AEW World Heavyweight Championship contract now. Anyways, we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that in a bit. Let's get back to Swerve. I think, man, 5 months is a great run. He beat some good names, and the trajectory of Swerve Strickland kind of necessitated him being world champion. If you look at where he was a year ago at Wembley, he was in the coffin match, the coffin tag match that he was put in the coffin, and you know him and Christian lost the match. And so you've got this crop of talent now between him. This awesome blood feud between him and Hangman Adam Page does not need the title. And a number of other names, you know, younger guys, obviously Ospreay's one of them. If you look at what they did with MJF after the title, obviously it took a lot of time off, but then he got into this thing with MJF, arguably elevated that, you know, international title now to one of the biggest matches on the show tonight. Mm-hmm. It's showing that they're like figuring out how to be creative with using these top names, former world champions, the younger crop, not the Moxes and the Jerichos, but younger guys like this, whether it's Darby that gets it next or maybe Swerve gets it back, that's a distinct possibility as well. Yeah. I think Danielson winning, honestly, is best for the company. They're probably on the verge of announcing this new TV deal, and you want to spice things up. You want to mix things up a little bit. And having Danielson win in a match of the year contender in the biggest show of the year for AEW, I don't think it's a bad move at all. One of my many predictions for this match was you have Swerve heal it up a little bit in the lead up, and then Danielson does that, you know, his old man Danielson routine where it's like, oh, you can get me down, but I'm not gonna stay down.
Yeah.
And you protect Swerve a little bit with that Hangman bit. Danielson's able to capitalize, and you have this amazing moment with, let's face it, one of the best baby faces that wrestling has ever seen.
One of the best wrestlers that wrestling has ever
For
seen.
sure, one of the best wrestlers in Bryan Danielson. And it's one of those things that just made sense. Just like when Swerve won it, it just made a lot of sense for the company, for the stories involved. Now you've got this Swerve Hangman thing, which we've all wanted to see. And that can continue. And, I think the future is still really, really bright for Swerve Strickland. He's no doubt by the end of the day, by the end of this next contract that he's on, going to be a multiple time world champion, or at least if they're able to build up those other championships like the international one, a multiple time champion from here on out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In AEW's issue for the longest time was, okay, someone has a good program, a good story, a good feud. What's next? It's the momentum aspect of it. And there was some concerns after Swerve won the title about whether they could sustain his momentum, and I think they did. Mm-hmm. He was consistently one of the most interesting characters on their programming, putting on some of the best matches on their shows, was involved in some good feuds, some good stories, and this Danielson stuff has been really, really good. Match tonight, phenomenal.
Yeah.
So in the case of Swerve, yeah, they managed to sustain the momentum after the title win. It's going to be interesting to see what they do now that he's not champion.
Well, I'll put it this way.
Hopefully they can sustain the momentum he has.
Swerve's title run was as good as anything else AEW has done recently. You got mixed up.
You got to compare it with everything else they've done. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
I'm
better
not saying
than
this is bloodline stuff here.
No, but it was booked better with more of a vision seemingly behind it than, say, Hangman Page's title run.
I agree with that. When you look at, for example, they were running with this elite thing as the A story, and Swerve, was starting to get roped into that. And then it was kind of completely dropped afterwards, maybe because they figured out they wanted to do the Danielson thing. I don't know. But within the context of AEW anyways, it's among some of their better stuff.
In the history of AEW, there's been 2 world champions that had a really strong through line through their entire run. It was Kenny as the belt collector. Mm-hmm. And then it was MJF with the story with Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those were the 2 title reigns that had really strong through lines that carried throughout the title reign. Of course, with MJF and Cole got hurt. It kind of compromised the finish of that story, obviously. And obviously the AEW Devil stuff kind of fell flat at the end. Mm-hmm. But I thought they did a really good job with Swerve in terms of, and it's something he mentioned in his promos, the responsibility of being champion, what comes with being champion, and him wrestling with that, where, by the time he became champ, he was like super babyface.
Yeah.
And now at the end of his title reign, he's leaning more to being a heel.
Which I like, and
nothing was abrupt about it. Sorry, nothing was seriously abrupt about it.
The one blatant misfire, I would say, in his reign was the "I love you people" promo. I feel like that was a bit too babyface, leaning into it a bit too much. If he just sort of stays who he is, doesn't acknowledge that the fans carried him there, he doesn't need to do it. They already chant whose house. They already chant Swerve's house. I thought that one promo was kind of like, oh, okay, well, we don't really need you to acknowledge the crowd. They're all a bunch of assholes. Swerve, come on. But beyond that, I thought in terms of like who he was as a character, never really went away. He's always been that violent guy. Mm-hmm. And I thought they did a pretty decent job with his character in 99% of the other situations. Absolutely. And I want to point this out. Jack Marius here says, figured he would lose here. Just thought it would be to Ospreay. He wasn't booked great, but it was better than I thought it would be. I do appreciate also that instead of just relying on, hey, we've got this new thing that everybody loves, Will Ospreay, let's job him out to this guy. Instead, no, you build up the other thing. You put him in an important feud with MJF, and that's what you get at Wembley. And I thought that was an outstanding match too.
Yeah.
And Swerve losing to Danielson in this situation with the connecting story with Hangman, it makes sense for the story.
It does.
And I think it makes Swerve, again, if you can, as Swerve is always known to do, makes himself look better in a loss than like anybody else can.
I know.
So yeah, hats off to Swerve Strickland for kind of being the symbol of this pivot that AEW's had. And we've seen a lot of that tonight at Wembley. Let's talk about that MJF Ospreay match. Of course, MJF has been basically Lex Express MJF.
Yeah, he came out with Luger tights, basically.
Basically, yeah. He didn't do the full, just plunk down some money for living in America.
I know.
Do the Apollo Creed Rocky IV thing.
Yeah.
But they didn't go all the way with that. Still, he was decked out in the American flag. Another really, really great match here. And all the whole story, somebody in my Wrestle Juice comments the other day said, I haven't really cared much for the Tiger Driver story, but I'll tell you, they've done it so much that once he hits it, I'm going to flip out for it. And boy, oh boy, he hit that Tiger Driver something fierce on MJF to finish it off.
Yeah. Yeah, we all knew it was coming. We all knew Ospreay was winning. We all knew he was going to hit the Tiger Driver en route to winning. It was just the journey there was the thing. I would think probably the two best matches of the night was the main event, and then probably Ospreay and MJF. The main event benefited from having more uncertainty about the outcome and therefore more drama.
Yeah, I agree absolutely.
We all knew Ospreay was going to win. The whole story was set up for Ospreay to win, but the match still delivered. It was wildly entertaining. Let's talk about this. You mentioned Christian's got a title shot coming up here at some point, whenever he wants it, because he won the Casino Gauntlet match. Now, this match saw the AEW debut of one Trevor Ricochet Man.
It did.
He is all elite. He got the graphic. Had some surprises, including the return of Nigel McGuinness.
That was
to the
awesome.
wrestling ring.
This has been talked about for a little while as a distinct possibility. I love it for him. I love it for him to return to 50,000 plus.
Amazing.
In his home country. Yeah, complete surprise and a great showing from Nigel.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So we both considered Hangman, I wouldn't say a shoo-in, but a strong candidate. Obviously, he was, I think, probably the most picked name
it was.
In our predictions to win, because from a story perspective, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially after Shivani on Collision, I think, over the weekend, said that whoever wins the gauntlet match can cash in whenever they want. Now, does that necessarily mean a Money in the Bank type scenario, like mid-match, after the match? Don't know.
Seems like I kind of feel like that's what it's going to be. They did that before with MJF and the chip.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's probably along the same lines.
It could be. And even if it's not per se that, it could be, hey, we have the main event. Here comes Hangman if he were to win, to make this a triple threat in the main event. Something like that, which, after you see how the pieces could fit, I was like, oh, that's a strong possibility.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible Hangman walks out of Wembley as champion. Because what was the one thing Swerve kept saying? I want to be the one to retire you, Bryan Danielson. It'd be one thing for Hangman to take Swerve's title away from, but to deprive him of that moment that seemingly he values almost as much as a championship himself. Oh, talk about taking everything away from Swerve. That'd have been something. We didn't get that. We got Christian winning instead. And kind of a duplicate story beat we've seen countless times in this Luchasaurus Christian Cage thing, where Luchasaurus basically hands Christian to win, and he walks out while actually sitting atop Luchasaurus' shoulders, I believe, holding up that contract. It kind of sucked the air out of the stadium a little bit.
It did.
I think a lot of people were hoping that we get a more impactful Look, we've been huge fans of Christian's heel work in AEW.
Well,
it garnered him a spot in the Going in Raw Hall of Fame.
I've been a fan. You've been a huge fan, yeah.
And so, no disrespect to Christian.
Sounds like it.
It's not. There are just possibly more exciting choices to come out of this.
Here's the thing. The gauntlet match was phenomenal.
It was really, really good.
The end.
It was really good.
The surprises, and then they would get kind of wonky with the length of time between people coming in.
But the action itself was really good. The little stories they were telling.
Right. This is a fucking cool match. I really like this. I know, because they've done this before, right? Like the Casino Gauntlet. There's this
the Ospreay one, the one that got him the title shot against Swerve, I believe.
Okay. They loaded this thing. Zack Sabre Jr. was in it. I'm surprised Grado wasn't in it. That was sort of the only.
Jeff Jarrett was in it.
Jeff Jarrett was in it. They looked like Nigel's return. Okada, he's a big name. Man, this thing was loaded. And they didn't even get to the scrub names that were confirmed for it. Evil Uno and the rest of the kingdom. But man, the action they had. There was a sequence with, what was it? Orange Cassidy and oh, I forget who it was when he was just going off, and it was just really, really good stuff. And so the format itself of this match is quickly becoming one of my favorite. I love this shit.
Oh,
Whenever you've got a countdown and people showing up, I'm happy for that, like the Royal Rumble. And then, yeah, for them, look, the thing about Christian, and granted, look, I'm not a Collision Cowboy. I don't watch it that often. I know he's featured pretty heavily there. The patriarchy stuff all kind of has happened there. But, like, it's been kind of the same shtick now for a while with the Luchasaurus stuff. That hasn't really changed. And it's like, okay, he had his world title shot. He got it against Swerve. We saw it already. Do we really need this again when there are so many other compelling stories out there? Do we really need that again? You're right. I'm a huge fan of his heel work, but I do think it needs to be at least that aspect of it, because everybody expected, of course, Luchasaurus, oh, he's going to turn on Christian because Christian didn't know that he was going to come down there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, again, he doesn't. And that's been a forever thing.
Yeah.
So, not with how much fresh blood was in this thing. A guy who really was making an impact a year ago, winning it now, I don't know. It felt a little off from the rest of the night.
Yeah, it did. And it didn't help that it followed two matches that were kind of bereft of heat. You had Hook versus Jericho for the FTW title and the tag team title match. Two programs that aren't necessarily the most intriguing.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And in the case of Hook and Jericho, an outcome that seems glaringly obvious.
Well, same with the tag match. I mean, we figured the Bucks were going to win that.
Yeah. So you kind of had three matches in a row. Well, two matches in a row that people are just kind of like, all right, we know what's going to happen here. And then this gauntlet match, which has a lot of uncertainty and unpredictability. And yeah, the outcome was unpredictable, but not in the way that people would be like, oh, awesome, super cool.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, Christian, all right, we like his work, but not the most exciting choice. Now, it means not to say they have something planned where I don't know what the situation would be. Maybe someone get the contract off him. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it, but I guess we'll wait and see how this plays out. I don't know.
I mean, hopefully they've got something good in mind. I mean, yeah, maybe this is a main event Dynamite, Christian versus Danielson, or it'll happen after the Darby match. I don't know.
Or Christian will make it a triple threat because he's got tons of history with Darby.
Or I'll make it, yeah. Or it'll be the impetus for the thing that finally turns Luchasaurus on him, maybe, because he's, So I don't know what the situation's going to be. Hopefully they've got something good planned for this. That's all you can hope for.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, also another curiosity. Jamie Hayter made a return.
Yes, which was super awesome, except it was on the pre-show.
I just happened to catch it, which I know maybe people are out there thinking, well, you guys should be watching the 0 hour. Why would I do that?
No, that started at what? 8 in the morning?
8 our time.
Barely awake at that point.
Yeah, I was still stirring.
That's super early.
Yeah.
So it was a segment where Saraya comes out with like her family and Harley Cameron. Jamie Hayter confronts her. Jamie Hayter beats up Harley. Saraya's mom, I think, laid out her dad too, maybe her brother. I don't remember exactly. But it was a segment they could have put on the main card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As over as Jamie was before she got hurt.
It would have exploded the roof on the main card.
It did in the pre-show, but unfortunately it wasn't, it wasn't like every ticket, holder was in the building yet, it was, I don't know. And there's just something to be said for it being on the main card.
Yeah,
people have been asking for months. When is Jamie Hayter coming back?
Like a year now they've been asking.
She's
over been gone a year, for a long time. Yeah.
Since May of last year.
Yeah.
And it's something they put on the pre-show. Get out of here with that, Tony Khan. Tony Khan, do better.
Yeah, that was kind of whack. We're going to talk about the other women's matches on the card in here in just a second. First, Larson, let's go ahead and pay some bills. What do you say?
Let's do it. This episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Steve, I used to be a pretty curious child, the type of kid who would study maps and memorize state capitals. But somewhere along the way to adulthood, I kind of lost that curiosity a little bit.
Same here, Larson. I see it every day with my kid. Kids are constantly learning and growing, but maybe it's due to everything we have to concern ourselves with as adults. But I've found that sense of curiosity certainly isn't what it used to be for me. But therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is completely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. All you got to do to get started is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
I've talked about it here on the show a lot, but I recall when I was in my mid-20s, my life was basically taken over by severe anxiety, and I had definitely lost pretty much any sense of wonder or curiosity. Eventually, I realized that I had to go to therapy. Therapy helped me learn the skills I needed to better cope with my anxiety and got my life back on track and put me on the path, becoming hopefully a better Larson. So rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/raw today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw.
Quick reminder as well, if you're watching us live or on the VOD, the video on demand,
VOD, yes.
hit that subscribe button, hit the notify bell, and leave us a comment. Apparently comments really help that algorithm. It shows us, it enables us to be recommended more and stuff. Comments really help. So, Nate, let us know your favorite match from tonight, or if you didn't watch the show, let us know what match you wish you saw instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we haven't talked about it yet, guess what? We will soon enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thumbs up. The like button's good for the engagement for the algorithm too. So if you could, comments, like button, be much appreciated.
Let's try to get to 1,000 likes on this video.
Yes, please.
AEW Women's World Championship match also changed hands. Toni Storm and Mariah May, the All About Eve storyline, reached so far its natural, not going to say conclusion, because I feel like there's still more to this story.
What's the next story beat? If they're
well,
following...
what happened in All About Eve 2?
I don't believe there is a sequel to All About Eve.
What? That was a massive hit. Why would they have not done
this? Was it was from the 1950s, before the days when they would franchise every successful movie.
Holy shit! I thought this was like
there was
from
just one All About Eve.
I thought this was from like 2013. My God.
You went to film school.
Oh, that's right, I did. Oh man, yeah. So the go home math on this, which we often use to base our predictions.
The go home math on AEW television.
Yeah, we don't count live events or whatever.
Apparently, it did matter though.
Press events. No, I think what we talked about this earlier when we were on the last Dynamite recap. We were like, man, for this story to make sense, Mariah's got to win unless they're going to stretch out the story in total. But I don't know how that would have made really much sense. Mariah's at sort of peak bad guy right now.
She slapped her own mother tonight.
She did. Yeah, that's a sign of a bad guy. Unless her mom's a real piece of shit. Then it's like, okay, that makes sense. But I didn't get that read. So Mariah May walks away with the Women's World Title. And it begs the question. They did this really great thing before the match where they sort of go into this, I don't know, museum-looking thing where there's this picture hanging of Toni Storm, and it says Wembley 1924, which now kayfabes her as some sort of immortal or some sort of End of Shining situation.
Or a time traveler.
Time traveler, yeah. Which I think, wasn't Jack Nicholson, was he like a time traveler in that Shining End? What did Kubrick say it was?
To interpretation.
Anyways, so yeah, she's been defeated by her protege. Where do you see this going now that the story of All About Eve, as it pertains to this, is kind of essentially done with?
Well, so the movie, we talked about this a lot. The movie concludes with someone else becoming Eve's Eve, essentially, where Eve then takes in a protege. And the idea is this protege will do to Eve what Eve did to Betty Davis's character in the movie. So in this case, someone will have to become Mariah's protege and do to her what Mariah did to Toni.
Yeah.
If they're going to follow through with every story beat of the movie. Did you see when Mariah won, they did like a movie poster with her on it based on the All About Eve poster. It's
really
that's
good. Fun. I didn't see that.
It's really good. And so the question is that Toni Storm under a new gimmick or a previous gimmick? Is it somebody else? Mina Shirakawa was in the crowd, sitting next to Rachel Ellering. You know, I don't know if you'd have to assume Mina's going to fit into the story somehow. I don't know. Again, it depends. So far, they've stuck pretty close, beat by beat, to the All About Eve story. So if they're going to go all the way with it, then they got to have Mariah find a protege of her own. The question is, who's that going to be?
So I just looked up the plot to All About Eve, and that character, Eve's name is Phoebe at the end.
All right.
So is there somebody in AEW named Phoebe?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't think there is. No. And in fact, Mariah is not even named Eve, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, it'll be interesting because I propose that possibly, although I think a lot of people would love to see Tony cross women's titles brands maybe and do a program with Mercedes. I don't know how that would shake out exactly. But I think that's a match that a lot of people would be interested in. Does she just walk away from this, or does Mariah continue, like you said? Does she continue sort of with her own protege, and then she gets Eved, if you will?
Yeah. The match was really good.
The match was phenomenal. The match was so good. The storytelling was so good.
Was awesome. And in the match, Tony just couldn't bring herself to use the shoe on Mariah, and it ended up costing her the bout. Somewhat surprising, they put it on second after the ladder match, but
I mean, it was
one of the better stories that they had going into All In. But
you might, I don't know. Like, it's a match that a lot of people are really invested in. I understand the idea of putting it on early instead of just a bunch of, like, what was the first match on the card?
It was the trios ladder match.
Yeah, like nobody cares about that. And then so you've got like something that people really care about, and then you go back to something nobody cares about. That's Hook versus Chris Jericho. Hook won. It was a cool moment. Hook won the title because his dad helped him out. That was neat.
Yeah, the match was not good though.
Yeah. Let's talk about the other women's match. Mercedes Moné versus Britt Baker. Now, dude, I don't like calling people out. Don't do that. I don't like to call people out necessarily or make these types of observations, but I did, and I have, and I will again. But like, I don't know if it had to do with the suspension of Britt Baker but like that little contract signing thing, she just didn't really seem to be too into this whole thing. And then the match itself, going into it with that kind of mindset, it just felt a little bit on the wonky side. There was some crazy spots, though.
It picked up towards the end. But yeah, the first 2/3 of it, something felt a little off about it, and Britt's general demeanor didn't seem to indicate that she was into it.
Yeah.
Even from her entrance, she was a bit aloof.
Came off like that,
But then the end of the match, it delivered. I thought the end of the match was really solid.
Well, I think it really picked up for me when Mercedes dumped her with a body slam from like the second rope.
Yeah. Well, she tried to do it again, and then Britt reversed it midair into a power slam. That was really cool.
That was really cool, and that takes a lot of concentration and effort from both people.
It does. From that point on, when Britt reversed it to the power slam off the top, it picked up, and the finish was good. But the early parts of the match were, just didn't seem like it was clicking per se.
Not the most connected wrestlers here. Not the most chemistry. Sometimes I guess maybe they just don't have that chemistry. In any event, Mercedes ended up retaining, as we figured was the case. I mean, from a broader perspective, kind of mildly surprising, given that Britt was gone for such a long time. I know Mercedes is a big deal right now, and she's become one of the foundational pieces of the women's division there. And the case could be made seemingly that you've seen more time devoted to the women's division since her arrival. It hasn't been she's taken somebody else's spot. It's they have opened up another spot for the women on the programming, which you have to say, hey, then her presence in AEW is a net positive.
Oh, absolutely. Regardless of how you feel about her work, and she's been faced with plenty of criticism, especially in terms of her promos since coming to AEW. If her presence leads to more time for the women's division as a whole, that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a massive win, because that was one of the huge problems with AEW prior to Mercedes' arrival, was that they'd get a match, maybe a short one, a segment. It was always at 6:30.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And that's changed.
Mm-hmm.
on Dynamite alone, there's 3 stories in the women's division that are constantly featured.
Yeah.
Whatever Mercedes doing, it's been Tony and Mariah, and it's been Statlander and Willow.
Yeah.
That's not even including Thunder Rosa and Deanna Prazo have been feuding on Rampage and Collision for months.
Yeah.
So, whether we're not there backstage, we don't know the conversation's been had, but Mercedes' arrival has been a huge win for AEW for no other reason, and I think she's put on some really good matches.
Yeah.
And obviously, she's been a benefit in terms of marketing AEW because she's doing all the events. She's sitting courtside at the Celtics games. Whenever there's a press event, she's there with her titles. But for the fact alone that more time is being devoted to AEW Women's Division, because there's a lot of really talented competitors in there. Since she's arrived, it's huge. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah,
Great.
No, I agree. Absolutely. Let's just go ahead and dive into it at this point. We're 31 minutes deep into the podcast. We also have, just want to point this out really quick. You guys might have noticed the Friendo U shirt, the Friendo U mug. We've got Friendo U merch right now available at friendoshop.com. Larson, you have a question.
Is there a Friendo U hat?
There is a Friendo U hat.
Right, so make sure, because you could have the full ensemble.
I know. I didn't get the hat yet. I will probably get that very shortly. Man, I had it available pretty quickly, but now I don't have it. But no, there is a Friendo U hat. I was gonna put. Oh, here it is. I was gonna put it up on the YouTube so people can see it. There's the Friendo U hat right there, so you guys can check that out as well. You can use promo code Friendo2024 to get a discount as well. So be sure to check that out. We had all sorts of new Friendo Club members as well. They got the Friendo Club set up. 2 ways to do that. Click join at youtube.com/Steven Larson or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson. You get access to all of our bonus episodes. We're going to be restarting those very shortly. You also get access to the Big Blue Predictions Challenge, and you get access to the question threads that we use for all of our recap episodes. AEW All in Wembley began with the AEW Trios Championships suspended above really tiny ladders as the Patriarchy put their titles on the line against House of Black, Bang Bang Gang Bullet Club Gold, and the Packpool Combat Club. So
Pack's just in BCC now, right?
He's just sort of there.
He was there at the end, and when Danielson was celebrating with you,
I'll replace Moxley, bastard.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Gosh, I had a point I was going to say that I forgot what it was. Oh yeah, they had either really short ladders or a giant one that was taller than the height with which the belts were suspended above the ring. There was nothing in between. It was like a 6.5 foot ladder or like a 12 foot ladder. Yeah, there was nothing in between. Because Juice Robinson gets this giant ladder out from under the ring and puts it in there. It's like, well, that makes getting the titles really easy now.
Yeah. Fun stuff. I mean, you put this kind of talent together. A lot of fun stuff. At one point, Mother Wayne tried to climb the ladder. She was convinced to come back down by the Bang Bang Gang. But yeah, just a ton of really, really fun stuff here. Of course, Killswitch, Luchasaurus, tried to help out Christian Cage up the ladder. That ended up being killed by Buddy Matthews. But then Christian speared Buddy off a smaller ladder through a table. Killswitch then positioned the ladder, tried to grab Cage to carry him up the ladder. But Pac rolled in out of nowhere, made the climb. He boots Christian off. He grabs the belt. So Pac gets his Wembley moment as the Blackpool Combat Club and Pac are now trios champions. Claudio, Wheeler, and Pac.
It's a good moment. It's great that Pac got his Wembley moment after being #1 contender for the International Championship and not getting that match at Wembley.
And yet he still has Pac versus Ospreay, I think, will be happening.
Yeah, at All Out. It's happening at All Out.
That's right. That's right. At All Out. Yeah.
2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we could do this all over again.
That's going to be such a good match. I know, but we're not going to. I'll be honest with you. I kind of like that 10 a.m. start time, man.
I do
we
too.
We get it in Berlin next week.
We do. We get 2 weeks. We get spoiled with the early start time.
I like the early start time.
Me too, especially for the AEW shows, because when they start at 5, shows not over till 9.
I've already done
an hour for recap. It's 10.
Yeah.
Like it's 11 o'clock before I'm done and ready for bed, but like I'm kind of jazzed from doing the show. I got energy, so I can't go to bed right away. It's like midnight before I get to sleep.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. Are we done here by 4? I got the rest of my day to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sit on the couch, watch some baseball. Maybe I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You can do whatever you want.
Do whatever I want. That's the thing.
Within reason. Anyways, after that, we had AEW Women's World Championship match. Mariah May versus Toni Storm.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah, just an absolutely banger of a match. Really good stuff. Both Mariah and Toni Storm kicked out of some finishers here. May kicked out of a Storm Zero, which doesn't happen very often.
No.
And then Mariah hit a Mayday on Toni. Toni kicked out of that. Luther was kind of getting involved here. Mariah crawled to try to get the title. Luther appeared, got the belt back, gives her the old middle finger. Kind of disappointed given that they're in England and he didn't do the two fingers here.
Yeah.
Because that's the appropriate thing.
Yeah, but Luther's not from the United Kingdom. He's
when in Rome, or in this case, in the country of Wembley, as JR says.
You did get to see that when Zack Sabre Jr. did it to Okada.
I know. Well, that was good.
So you got it. In
any event, Luther flipped her off. Let's see here. Yeah, Toni grabbed the shoe. You mentioned this earlier. Grabbed May by the throat, but she's not able to bring herself to attack with the shoe. Goes for a Storm Zero instead, but May is able to counter that with a pin for 2. Mariah hits 2 knees to the head, and then a Storm Zero covers and gets the win. New Women's World Champion.
Really good stuff. Really good stuff. Then we got Fozzy performing.
Yeah, I went and made a breakfast sandwich during this one. So
smart move.
If you have any, gripes with that, me doing that, not watching the entire show, missing out on Fozzy, I got 2 fingers for you.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Didn't miss anything.
I don't have to watch that shit. That sandwich was good, too.
Yep, that's better than this match was, too. Got an FTW title match, Hook versus Chris Jericho. Just a lot frustrating about this, because you had Jericho, you had Brian Keith, you had Bill. They opened the match just attacking Hook.
Yeah.
I understand Samoa Joe is written off TV because he got put through the wall on a forklift. Shibata had a match in the kickoff show. Shibata, Joe, and Hook were a thing. They were a trio for a spell till Joe got written off. Where's Shibata to help his friend?
He's still selling that match. Didn't he get really roughed up in that match?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. It was in the kickoff show, Steve.
Well, that's just my assumption then.
But it was just like overbooked. Hook's got to fight from underneath the whole time. And I'm happy that Jericho doesn't have this FTW title anymore, because that means we're not getting any more FTW rules matches with Jericho. The only thing Jericho does that's remotely interesting in these matches is bring some interesting weapon from whatever locality they're in into the ring. It was cricket balls today.
Cricket bat.
Like when he had a match up in Winnipeg, I think it was hockey pucks. It's like the lone interesting thing he brings to this entire enterprise. I'm happy he lost the title. Maybe he'll take a break for a bit. Not surprisingly, Hook gets the win. So Brian Keith hits Hook with the FTW title. Jericho covers. Hook kicks out. Jericho takes a swing with a kendo stick. Hook ducks that, locks on Red Rum. And Brian Keith is trying to interfere. Taz gets up from commentary, puts the Taz mission on him. Jericho taps. Not a huge surprise. Hook wins the FTW title. He goes through this whole feud with Jericho, only get the same belt back he had before. How is that elevating him up the card? It's not.
I mean, it's Jericho Vortex. Yeah, I mean, dude, honestly, it's just, I know we've talked about Jericho a bunch recently. It's difficult to bring myself to care about him. He's doing this shtick, which is obviously born of resentment from the fans being tired of his shtick. And it's not interesting. I don't even understand really what it is. Why is he all of a sudden saying, "Hi, guys," like in the most obnoxious way
Because
possible?
someone backstage would probably do that. It's an in-joke.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's the problem, though. You know, like when you're bringing your in-jokes to camera, if it's not motivated properly by your character, then it's okay. You're just being self-indulgent right there. I can't bring myself to care. I think that they had Hook doing stuff that, it's kind of goofy. Like, oh, look, my eye. He shot me in the eye with a fireball. And it's just sort of, I don't know. He's supposed to be like that cool guy.
He's supposed to have mystique. That's what he had. That was the one thing he had, was mystique.
And then he covered up the eye with the kinesio tape, which was kind of weird. And then he gets gouged in the other one. And so he takes off the tape so then he can see that.
And the eye's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Dude, I think Hook's got plenty of potential. I think that we've seen some cool shit from him. I like his theme song. Uh, if he lands in NXT, maybe he'll develop some stuff there. But they got to start doing something with him. That's interesting, And I
Yes.
know that might be easier said than done. But you're right. Like, it doesn't really elevate. Nobody gets elevated by working with Jericho.
No,
No,
no.
like have him work with other veterans who really don't need it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about having Hook join up with Samoa Joe and Shibata is they could bounce off each other, and backstage vignettes. And a lot of that stuff was fun when they
Yeah,
would
it
do
was
that.
fun. Yeah, yeah.
When Joe would talk to Hook prior to busting into, whose locker room they kept busting. Oh, it was Tony Nese.
The
And,
varsity athletes.
yeah, the varsity athletes locker room. That was it consequential? Not really, but it was fun and gave Hook an opportunity to showcase some personality.
Yeah, I'll never argue when you just show the personality and chemistry that a group has. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't think of a better person to bounce off of than Samoa Joe.
Yeah, he's great.
Dude is like all charisma and mic skills,
Yeah.
He's going to give you a lot to work with.
Yeah.
And I know Joe had to go shoot Twisted Metal. I get it. But, like, again, where's Shibata? Shibata shipping out there. He was in the very first match. He had like an hour and a half to recuperate.
Yeah, I don't tell you, man. It's like, this kid, he can handle
Oh,
it.
sorry, third match. Sorry. Last match of the kickoff show. Still, he had plenty of time to recover.
Anyways.
Christian Cage was in a hard-fought ladder match. Still made it down for the Casino Gauntlet match and won.
I like that he was selling that too.
Yeah, he's a pro, man. He's Hall of Famer for a reason.
Anyways, after that, we had an AEW World Tag Team Championship three-way. The Acclaimed versus the Young Bucks versus FTR. The build to this was a bit on the wonky side. The Acclaimed are a bit on the cold side these days. That being said, these three teams have phenomenal chemistry. I thought the match was really fun because these guys really, that's what they do when they get together for these matches. The outcome was pretty, it was pretty, like, predictable. That being said, the Acclaimed getting, like, the last entrance, I was like, are they going to try to heat them back up?
That's not uncommon because then Caster gets to do.
He does the rap thing. Yeah, that makes sense. They had the Young Bucks came out in John Lennon and Paul McCartney's Sgt. Pepper gear.
Look great.
They look great. Matt's was a little on the large side, but whatever.
Yeah.
Look fine.
Yeah, maybe he looks like some roomier fit.
That could be. Or they just didn't get him tailored and he got the wrong size. He's like, what? I thought I ordered a large. I ordered extra large? That doesn't make any sense.
Who knows? Who knows? The finishing sequence, this is a really fun match, but with the outcome more or less not in doubt, it kind of left something to be desired in terms of drama. So Cash sends Nick out of the ring. Bowens takes out Nick, and then Cash with the suicide dive, the Acclaim. So Dax pushes Matt into Nick. Roll up. Dax gets a 2. So Nick with the belt shot to Dax. He kicks out. But then the Young Bucks just hit an EVP trigger. Cover Dax to get the win. That was kind of the only thing in doubt was who was going to take that L. And I was kind of shocked that someone from FTR did just because they thought they might want to avoid them being involved in the finish for the sake of matches down the line. But I guess they're going to do that. But with the Acclaimed, neither Caster or Bowens gets pinned. Therefore, they could say, we won the number one contender match. We never got a one-on-one bout. We did, but it was a wonk finish because FTR interfered.
Right.
We didn't get pinned. Where's our one-on-one title match?
Come on, Fallen Angel. Book that match.
I know. It's all there. Anyways, Grizzly Young Veterans came out, confronted the Young Bucks, and then proceeded to attack FTR.
Soon. The crowd did not give them much of a reaction. I was disappointed in that because
Everybody should have taken their shoes off.
They used to get the hottest reactions.
Oh,
in
Zach Gibson.
Zach Gibson
heat
especially.
magnet.
If you hate Gibson, shoes off.
Yeah.
And then they would do that. They would take their shoes
There
off.
should have been 50,000 people holding their shoes in the air.
It'd have been stinky.
But it'd have been quite a sight.
Yeah, it would have been. Anyways, after that, we had... Man, this is great because Dynamite, the show that I watched, we're going to get some Zach Gibson promos. I'm very excited about that.
Soon. Oh, they also announced that Forbidden Door is taking place in London next year.
Yeah, that's cool.
In August. So I guess All In Texas is in July or roughly around the time that we usually get Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door next year is going to be the time we usually get All In London.
Okay.
Slay does.
They swapped them.
Swap them.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, I wonder if they're going to add like Rev Pro to the Forbidden Door this
Could
year.
be.
You know, sort of exhausting the New Japan thing. And the CMLL thing was like not much of an integration this year.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens at Wrestle Dynasty. Is that the cross-brand show that's happening after Wrestle Kingdom?
Like, yeah, what is it? AEW, Ring of Honor, which is like the same thing.
New Japan,
Noah?
Stardom, CMLL.
Is Noah part of it?
I don't know.
Or is
Noah
Noah
seems
working?
friendly with WB these days.
They do, yeah, right, yeah.
I don't know if it's DDT, maybe? No, I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Yeah, anyways. So, after that, we had the Casino Gauntlet match. This was just, I mean, we talked about this a bunch.
Tons of
This
fun.
was wild. I love the fact that Karen Jarrett seems to have such a beef with Hangman Adam Page. Of course, Hangman has attacked Jeff Jarrett in the past. Jeff Jarrett and them, he had that match in the Owen. But yeah, she kept on going after him. Ricochet made his big debut here.
Sorry, who?
Trevor Ricochet Man.
Thank you.
And boy, oh boy. So, and he's got a new catchphrase too that I'm hoping that he's just sort of testing right now because I don't think it's all the way there yet. Out of this world.
Out of this world.
He's like, all right, I'm going to work on some here. What do you guys think about this? Man, he's great. Like, but it's MANN. And they're like, well, you're not really going to be called Trevor Mann. You're just called Ricochet. Okay. How about this? Ricochet, the place to be. Well, you're not really a location.
Person. You're a person.
You're a human. Yeah. All right. How about this? Fine. I love to fly high. How about I'm out of this world?
Like, all right, at least that makes sense. We'll roll with it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Trevor Ricochet Man, out of this world.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. You know, I'll see if he's got a shirt already. Probably has a shirt already.
Oh, yeah, go to AEW shop. There's probably a shirt there. So, yeah, Nigel McGuinness, return. Trevor Ricochet Man, debut. Zack Sabre Jr., surprise entrant. Okada started out with Orange Cassidy. There's a lot of good stuff. You know, it's one of those matches we could list off moves and stuff. Just go watch it.
Yeah.
Whoever produces, I know there's only been 2, I think, these Casino Gauntlet matches. They're great. You get the fun and surprises of a battle royal without the kind of nature of a battle royal. People just get thrown off the top. You know, it's such an interesting. I know it's not a brand new type gimmick because the Gift of the Gods, Aztec Warfare, Lucha Underground was similar to this.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But the way it's been implemented so far in AEW has just been tons of fun.
So they've got a doormat. This is clever. With Swerve Strickland's logo, the house one that says "Whose house?" But then underneath it says Swerve's house. Can we change it like Steve's
Can they be
house? This is Steve's
customizable?
house. Yeah,
Whose
right.
house? Steve's house.
Steve's house.
Yeah.
Ricochet does have a shirt. I'm getting close.
Out of this world.
In really tiny letters at the top of his logo, it says "Out of this world." But like the rest of it, I guess is like a Ricochet, like a logo for him.
Is it a new logo? Is it the one that was on his Tron?
So it's not his name. It's like a symbol. It's like back when Prince wasn't Prince. He was like a symbol. Yeah.
Artist formerly known as.
Yeah. But this is fine. It's cool.
Here, let me pull it up.
It's a wrestling shirt.
Oh yeah, that's his old logo.
Okay, is that his old logo?
Yeah, that was his logo he used in the Indies.
Well, there you go. Well, now he's back in the Indies, so he can use that again.
All right, there we go.
Trevor
Ricochet Man is all elite.
This Tony Storm stuffed plush doll is hilarious. If you scroll down
look at that.
That is amazing.
That is pretty great.
Anyways, continuing on.
Yes, continuing on. So Hangman's in the match. Jeff Jarrett blasts him with a guitar in the head. Okada hits Jarrett with a Rainmaker. Okada looking for a Rainmaker on Zack Sabre Jr. Zack counters that with an arm bar. Orange Cassidy rolls up Zack, gets a 2, hits an orange punch on Okada. Zack rolls up Orange Cassidy, gets a 2. Orange hits him with an orange punch. Roddy hits Orange with End of Heartache. Mark hits Roddy with an elbow drop. Mark sets up Nigel McGuinness. But then Kyle heads up. Nigel escapes, hits Tower of London, gets a 2 there. So Roddy hits a knee to Nigel. Nigel bounces off the ropes, hits him with a lariat. Christian spears Nigel. Luchasaurus is in next. Not Kill Switch. That's right. The Tron said Luchasaurus. Christian,
Yeah.
not Kill Switch. So Christian was shocked. He runs down and grabs Christian, but as like it seems like he might choke slam Christian instead, Kyle O'Reilly runs towards them. So Luchasaurus grabs him, choke slams him, and then puts Christian on top of Kyle to get the win.
Also, people are pointing out Orange Cassidy had a Mr. Bean reference for his entrance.
Yeah.
Which I know you popped huge for that.
Well, you know me, noted Mr. Bean fan. Lifelong.
You are the United States' foremost authority on Mr. Bean.
Oh. See?
See, that was really good. After that, we had Will Ospreay Assassin's Creed advertisement integration entrance. And then MJF came out. And, man, I don't know how much it cost. I'm hoping that an attempt was at least made, because I'm looking at a picture of Apollo Creed in his entrance on Rocky IV, his tragic exhibition match against Ivan Drago. If he dies, he dies.
Well, I mean, Steve, you were traumatized by that, weren't you?
Oh, I was. That and RoboCop, yeah. And I was hoping, God, it would have been so great if they gave him the full James Brown "Living in America" intro.
In America.
Because the attire was very close. The entrance attire
was super close. Yeah,
it was very close.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe James Brown. Maybe it's super expensive to license that shit.
It could be.
Know? It's like, hey, we already got the Final Countdown.
Yeah, which is Tony Khan's already said it's super expensive.
Super pricey. So none of that. We had the same, but the free, by the way.
Well, they re-recorded it. It's not the same version it used to be. I don't think. Did they re-record it?
I don't know.
Did Mikey Ruckus do his own version for MJF?
Could be. No
Maybe.
idea. And then
anyway,
he came
Ospreay
down
wins.
and he had very close Lex Luger inspired trunks.
Yeah, very much so.
MJF did.
Very much so. In the end, Ospreay gets the win. So MJF is looking for a hidden blade. Ospreay ducks that, but then ends up hitting the ref inadvertently. This is after Ospreay was trying to hit a hidden blade off the apron, and then end up taking up a cameraman.
That cameraman got it good. My goodness.
He did.
Yeah.
So MJF looks for a Tiger Driver. Will avoids it. MJF hits him with a low blow. And then, so early in the day, MJF tweeted that someone stole the Dynamite Diamond ring. And so he didn't have that. He had like some makeshift brass knuckles, essentially.
Is that going to be a story beat, like going forward? Somebody stealing
Maybe MJF could be like, "Oh, I would have won if I had my Dynamite Diamond ring." I don't know.
Well, did somebody legitimately steal it?
I don't know.
That'd be
maybe he forgot to pack it. I don't know. So anyway, someone runs down ringside and it attacks MJF. It's Daniel Garcia. So he's staring at MJF after he lays him out. Ospreay hits MJF with a hidden blade, follows with the Tiger Driver to get the win.
Yeah,
people are
so
saying that Garcia might have been the one to steal the Dynamite Diamond.
Oh, that would make sense.
There we go.
Okay, because he had on like the stealth gear. That makes sense. So yeah, Garcia re-signed with AEW evidently.
Seemingly.
He made his choice.
Yeah.
He's all elite.
Still.
So he decided not to go with the U. No U for Daniel Garcia. Of course, you can spell Daniel Garcia without a U.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Factual.
Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, it seems like, he's got maybe creatively speaking, now that he's with the company, they're going to, strap the old rocket pack to his back.
Well, he's going to get a match with MJF, and if he wins that, which who knows, that's a step in the right direction. MJF's a huge name in AEW. Obviously, if MJF doesn't lose a lot, and so if you beat him, you'd like to think they got plans for you.
So I can't confirm this right now. Maybe somebody else can. Oh, okay. So they're saying he has not re-signed yet. His contract actually runs out in October.
Mm.
All right. Well, there you go.
So anyways, the ref's trying to give Ospreay the American Championship. He wants nothing to do with that. So Christopher Daniels comes in and gives Ospreay the international title.
Yep. Yeah.
Then we got Britt
I
Baker.
started to grow fond of the MAGA title, man. The U.S. title. They should just make a U.S. title.
I mean, maybe MJF be like, oh, I'm still American champion.
That could be. Yeah, you could just do that.
We got so many titles in AEW. You don't need another one.
It's all right.
Don't really need another one.
More things for people to fight over.
I guess.
Swag Phoenix 420 here. What a great name. Became a Channel Club member. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Swag Phoenix says, longtime listener, first-time member. AEW Promotions, I think they mean production team, has to be better from missing important in-ring story beats.
Yeah.
A lot of beats missed tonight.
Yeah, it was not the best effort from camera department, production department tonight for AEW. Yeah, there was a lot of odd cuts at odd times. Then we got Britt taking on Mercedes Moné. We talked about that plenty in terms of kind of the general demeanor of the bout. But as mentioned, I thought the finish really picked up. So I think this was after. Yeah, this is after the power slam off the top. Mercedes goes and gets the belt from ringside and comes in the ring and tries to blast Britt with it, but then the ref, I believe it was Paul Turner was the ref for this one, spotted it. Rather than calling for a DQ, just was like, hey, get the belt out of here. So Camille slides in, eats a super kick, and then Britt tosses the belt at Camille and bumps the Eddie Guerrero spot.
The old Eddie thing, yeah.
So Paul Turner turns around, ejects Camille from ringside again. It could have been a DQ. So Mercedes goes into the middle turnbuckle. Britt hits Panama Sunrise, gets a 2 count there. She's looking for a lockjaw, gets it in, but then Mercedes bites Britt's hand, which I don't know why everybody just doesn't do that.
You'd think that'd be a typical thing, yeah.
Yeah. So then Mercedes rolls up Britt for a 2. Britt with the backslide. And then Mercedes gets up and then hits a moneymaker to get the win.
Yeah, ended up being the last part of the match. You're right. You said this earlier. What they really got on the same page here. It was really good stuff. Yeah. After that, we had the TNT Championship coffin match. Darby Allin got absolutely fucking annihilated.
Wrecked.
Jack Perry.
Wrecked. It wasn't competitive.
This was interesting because if the idea is, Darby's got this world title shot coming up, if Dave Meltzer is to be believed, they might be looking to put the title on him sooner than later. They're really making something out of Jack Perry with this then, I guess. If the guy who is going to be the world champion is just getting absolutely throttled in a match that's kind of up his alley. He hasn't lost a coffin match yet, but Jack Perry dominated him. There was a shout out to Hellraiser, Pinhead. Darby Allin comes out with a bunch of thumbtacks already in his head, basically.
Yeah, glued to his face. And then early in the match, Jack Perry gets a bag from under the ring and is filled with glass. Real glass.
Not just glass. Real glass.
Real glass.
Cry me a
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be an annual tradition at All In where Jack Perry utilizes real glass.
The look on his face, the smile that beamed
he's
across
got that
his
smug smirk down perfect.
He really does. Man, I think that he's... I was not all in on them showing that footage of CM Punk and him, but the fact that they made something so good out of Jack Perry, I don't know if you needed to show the footage necessarily, but it got a lot of people talking and him claiming that he's a scapegoat. I think it's really working for him. Yeah. I really like it, man. I think it works. I know not everybody feels the same way, but I like what Jack Perry's doing these days.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's doing great work. Absolutely great work as scapegoat. So yeah, Jack Perry got the win. He wrecked Darby. He taped his hands together, tied his feet together with Darby's own belt, shoved him off the stage through some tables, brought a body bag down, put him in it, dragged him to the coffin, was starting to put him in there, and then Darby sticks his head out, through the body bag, and then Jack Perry just runs by with a running knee.
It was like that part in Ace Ventura Part 2.
Yeah, with the rhino. And so Jack closes the coffin. Done. But that's not enough. So Young Bucks come down with a can of gasoline. So they pour some on the inside of the coffin on the outside. They're about to light it on fire. Seek and Destroy hits. A Sting with his old Metallica theme.
Yep.
He comes down. He takes care of the Elite. Makes the save for Darby. Helps him out of the coffin after he destroys. Jack Perry flees, and the Young Bucks eat Scorpion Death Drops each.
Yeah, yeah. No, I thought that was yeah, I like that stuff. I like Darby, I like Sting, I like Jack Perry. So that was right up my alley. And it was relatively short. It was just Jack Perry annihilating
It was a
Darby
10-minute
Allin.
match. It was the shortest match on the card.
Was
No,
it even it was even 10 minutes. Wow,
sorry, it was
okay.
the second shortest match on the card. It was 10.5 minutes.
What was the shortest match on the card?
Hook and Chris Jericho. That's weird because that felt like an eternity.
How long was that match? Like 9?
10-12.
Okay, all right. So it was on par. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
just a little bit shorter. Gosh darn it, that match felt like it took forever.
All those Jericho matches do. It's like, look,
Plodding,
okay,
slow.
you can still do a moonsault, but like, why is it most of your matches you're just, meandering?
Says he can still have the best match of the night, huh?
Well, a challenge for him. Maybe you can try to prove that one of these days.
Yeah. Then we had our main event. Bryan Danielson challenging Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship. Danielson's family. Bree mode. It's 2 kids sitting ringside. They got final countdown for Danielson. Swerve got a live performance of his theme. JR was on commentary.
He was, yeah, a lot of confusion there from JR. A lot of confusion.
Yeah.
The name of Bryan Danielson specifically.
Daniel Bryan.
A lot of Daniel Bryan. One apparently Bryan Daniels. Called Wembley a country, I think. That's all was poor. I saw a clip of JR the other day. He was like, God damn, what do you expect? I'm old. He was talking about people giving him criticism. I'm old. People still love his voice, though. It's JR. He's a legend.
Yeah.
For as long as the guy is going to do this, just fucking let him do it. And, some unintentional comedy, it's fine. His big calls are still pretty great.
Yeah. Yep. So let's start here with our breakdown of this. This was a fantastic bout, man. This is so good. There's a stretch where Swerve hits Bryan with like 3 or 4 house calls. Where Bryan kicks out, and like basically every time before Swerve is about to do something devastating to Bryan Danielson, he looks over at his family, at Danielson's family. So Danielson actually starts to make some progress, a bit of a comeback, hits a knee plus, and Swerve just kind of like tumbles back into the corner a little bit, and then just stands up and brushes it off. No sells. It starts laughing at Danielson.
That was such a great unexpected
so
moment.
good.
And it made Swerve just look so goddamn strong. Like, man, you think this little comeback is going to do anything? This hope spot just turns to dust.
Yeah.
When he just brushes off.
Oh, and the way
that
the air,
kick.
like in a good way, left the building when that happened.
They gasped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It got quiet.
There was actually a really good TV moment here where they framed right before Swerve hit like a house call from behind, I think. And you see Danielson in the foreground, and he's defeated. He looks at his family and he says, "I'm sorry."
Mm-hmm.
It was so well done, but he ends up kicking out of that. Then he gets the hope spot, hits that psycho kick, and Swerve just brushes it off.
Yeah. So then Swerve hits a house call, the JML driver. Danielson kicks out, and he starts getting fired up at that point. And he starts yelling at his family, "I love you." Like they're motivating him now at this point. And so Swerve, let's see here. And then Hangman shows up ringside. Swerve has the advantage again. Hangman shows up, starts fighting off security, attacks Prince Nana. Eventually, they got like 10 security guards out there to take Hangman away from the ringside area, but this is distracting Swerve.
Well, the great thing is, Hangman is no danger. There's literally 10 security guys, and he is being escorted away, but Swerve can't help himself but to taunt the living shit out of this guy.
Yeah. He's taunting Page about being champ.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Swerve
doing
turns
the discount
around.
double check.
Yeah. Swerve turns around, eats a D+. Swerve kicks out. So they're traded shots at this point. Kicks, strikes, forearms, headbutts. Danielson looking for another D+. As Swerve is looking for the rolling flatliner. Hits it. He hits another one to the back of Swerve's head. Locks on a label lock. Well, Swerve's fighting out of that, trying to break the grip because earlier on he dumped Danielson on his head. So Danielson was really selling. They had to stop the match that one time. Or doctors came in to stop the match. And so Danielson snaps Swerve's fingers, transitions to a ring of Saturn. Swerve taps. It's the first time they said that Swerve tapped in AEW.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, he looked like $1,000,000. He looked great.
Yeah.
And so Danielson goes and celebrates with his family. His little kid is obsessed with confetti. You know, to this day, if I see confetti raining down, I'd probably start chasing it too.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. It means the celebration is afoot.
And then Pac and the Blackpool Combat Club come down there. Oh, I guess I've got to go down there too, busted.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He
And there
seemed
you go.
like he had a little bit of mirth though.
No, he seemed like he was, yeah. He was like, oh, I'm not opposed to
He
this.
wasn't completely grumpy.
I'm not opposed to this, busted.
Oh, Swerve hit a vertebraker. That's when he dumped Danielson on his head.
That's right. Yeah, and
that's
the
when the
medical
doctors
staff came in.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
We got a raid here from Mr. Tesh.
Oh, cool.
That's what it
Thanks,
says.
dude. Thank you
We
very
had
much.
one earlier too from Triple Threat Pod, I think, right as we were getting started. So thank you for the raid,
man.
everybody.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and read a couple questions here to finish off our day. Let's see here. Oh, let me get to it if I could. Here we go. Oh, wow. John Talks a Bit says, what are the 5 top biggest moments in Danielson's career, and does this make his top 3? So number 1 has got to be WrestleMania, both
30,
titles.
Yeah, WrestleMania 30. Maybe when he left the Wyatt family in that cage match when he was super concussed. That was amazing, though.
That was awesome. I am not well versed in his Ring of Honor days.
Nor am I.
So I'm gonna say him turning heel on AJ and winning the Planets Championship.
It's when you got the city of Fresno, California, for cheering to be the most polluted city in California.
Him walking through was that the same as when he was walking through the concourse yelling at people?
He did a couple times when he's calling everybody fickle.
Yeah.
Or that was at the impotent change it one.
Yeah. That
There's so
would
many
be up
great
there
moments
for me.
when he's the Planets champion. Gosh, he was so good.
Dude, I mean his comedy bits with Kane are up there for me. That stuff was so good.
Kel Miko asked, who main events All In 2025?
Who was in the coffin match this year?
Darby main event then.
Darby main events.
Against Sting.
Whoa. Wow. I like that. Okay, wait a second. Who did...
But that's in Texas. It's all in Texas. Sting lives in Texas.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Makes sense.
Makes all the sense in the world.
All the sense.
There you go.
Kelmiko says after returning, debuting, who would you rather be heading into 2025 of the following names? Jamie Hayter, Daniel Garcia, Grizzled Young Veterans, or Trevor Ricochet Man?
Wait, what's the question? Out of
Who
those
would you rather
names?
be heading into 2025? Jamie Hayter, Daniel Garcia, Grizzled Young Veterans, Trevor Ricochet Man.
It's down in my head to Hayter and Ricochet. And it's probably Jamie Hayter.
Yeah, probably Jamie Hayter.
I think probably Jamie Hayter. People love her.
Oh, yeah.
She's really good.
Her theme is one of the best, too. Her theme is incredible. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, you cannot get hyped for that theme.
Super hype.
And then she's amazing. So, Chris Stanton says, "Can you guys explain why you're so certain of Bryan's heel turn?" Because he wasn't
that's
wearing a white
another.
shirt.
Sorry, hold on. That's another huge moment in his career, choking the Dapper Yapper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
That's
what was the
huge.
question?
How can you explain why you guys were so certain of Bryan's heel turn? I wasn't actually certain. I just thought, because at the end, I changed my prediction from yes to no this morning before submissions were closed. It's because that one segment was Swerve. Because basically, Danielson, the entire time he was in AEW, unless he's wearing a Blackpool Combat Club shirt, he's just wearing a plain white T-shirt.
Yeah.
And he wasn't in that segment. So I thought, oh, he pays attention to the details. That must matter. Thought it was a bit of foreshadowing. That's it.
I was not certain that he would turn heel. I did not think that was going to happen. I think my original prediction was exactly what happened. And then I waffled on a little bit, but at the end of the day, I still figured it's going to be the thing.
We've discussed it as a possibility.
Blake Whitehouse, how well do you think Christian would have been handled under Triple H's creative? Same as Edge. Nothing to do for him. Nothing for him.
Yeah. Yeah, he needed to go to AEW, do something interesting from a creative perspective.
Yeah.
Atomic Nerd asks, what would you glue to your face prepare for a coffin match?
Oh man. You're gonna be in that coffin.
Steve.
Who knows how long you're gonna be in that coffin for? So maybe some snackies.
You gonna glue some snacks to your face?
Yeah, like Twinkies.
The answer's clear. It's fake poop. If you glue fake poop to your face, the other person will be like, I'm not gonna wrestle this person. They got poop on their face.
What is this like chocolate?
Something, yeah.
They'd be like, why does your poop smell like chocolate?
No, you have to mix it with something to make it stinky.
They would just run away. You wouldn't be able to get them in the coffin.
Yeah, but like count out. You win by count out in a coffin match. There you go.
That's maybe the worst coffin match I've ever heard of. No, I'd do. I still say I would make it. I would change it to a coughing match.
There
I
you
would
go.
just
You're the reigning champion of those matches.
Yeah, I would put some
Undefeated.
cough medicine on my face. And they'd be trying to get me, and then I'd Aaron L 504 says, with Hangman's interference likely leading to him and Swerve reigniting their feud, how much longer will we have to wait for Hangman and Okada? That is the feud that I want.
Oh, their interaction in the Gauntlet match was great.
Something about these guys, they just fucking hate each other.
The way, because it was when Hangman hit the buckshot
yeah,
on Jarrett, was it? I think, and Okada in the most casual way just comes and breaks the pin.
Yeah,
and Okada's like, "Fuck you, face," is amazing. Like when he doesn't like somebody and stares at him, it's so good.
I do appreciate that he made the most of when breaking up the pin. You don't have to break it up. You just have to initiate contact. Mm-hmm. And so he just sort of like sweeped his head with his foot. You know, he didn't even kick it necessarily. No. He just sort of like...
It was so dismissive is what it was.
It was, yeah. And he's just looking at him like he's the biggest piece of trash. He's so dismissive. Oh, his body language, it's so great.
Yeah. Lachlan Shaw asked, do you think that Nigel's appearance was a one-off, or will he be having more matches? I wouldn't be surprised if he has a match here or there.
Oh, he'll have a Danielson match. I don't know how many matches Danielson has left. One of those has to be Nigel.
You'd like to hope so. Maybe it'd be cool if that's the Wrestle Dream one. But then, no, if it's Wrestle Dream, that's probably be Danielson's last match. Full time.
Speaking of which, Dave Matuszek says, who do you think should Danielson's last match be against?
Either Swerve beats them to get the title back, or Danielson's last match should be against Zack Sabre Jr.
Is his last match the title match? I feel like I love that idea of once I lose this, I'm retired.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'd be shocked if they didn't do it, because that's intrigue right there. Tons of it. Into however many matches Danielson has left, this automatic intrigue.
I could see it being Darby. I could see that being a possibility. Kitty Michael says Shane. So does Pontus. Shane McMahon, yeah.
All right, that's all the questions I got over here.
Blind Cinephile Javier says, how would you rank Bryan's world title win to his others? He says, to me, nothing will compare to his Mania 30 win, but this made me tear up as he's been my favorite wrestler.
So this was a better match. The Mania one was a better moment. A larger moment, it felt. Because it felt like the culmination of a career's work at Mania.
Yep.
All the ups and downs. Get fired for choking Justin Roberts. To be main eventing WWE's top show of the year.
And it really felt like the fans literally bullied their way to getting him there.
Yeah.
In a good way. They lifted him up. However you want to refer to it.
Lifted him up, yeah.
It was like, okay, we actually are listening now to that. And then did you hear what he said about the original plan there? After he won, Vince was like, yeah, no, we're going to use this to make Roman Reigns the biggest face because Brock's going to destroy you and then Roman's going to beat him. And Brian's like, the fuck? People want to see me, dude. Come on. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What a jackass that Vince McMahon. Anyways,
You got that
that's
right.
Gonna do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us during the live stream today. We appreciate it. All the subs, all the super chats, all the love. Thank you so much. And
it's much appreciated. Thank you so much, everybody.
if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment. It really does go a long way towards helping us grow. Even after all this time doing this show, Larson, it's still good to grow.
It is.
Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.